Friends, I'm Shmuley Yanklowitz. I'm thrilled to be here. I am a progressive. And what that means is that I believe spiritually that the history bends, the arc of history bends towards justice. I believe that. I believe that it's not inevitable. We have to strive for it. We have to work for it. And I am a fan of Bend the Arc and the amazing work they're doing because they believe in progress and they believe we have to do the work to get there. And Bend the Arc, friends, if you don't know it, you got to know about it. Bend the Arc is where progressive American Jews join together to fight for justice and equality for all. They are the only national Jewish organization focused exclusively on progressive social change in the United States. Bend the Arc is building solidarity with all who are impacted by anti-Semitism and white nationalism to expand civil rights, defend democracy, and protect each other. Bend the Arc recognizes that our country was built on the promise of equality, but was founded in a reality of racism. The organization is fighting against white supremacy that still shapes society and that still exists within the halls of power and within ourselves. Bend the Arc believes that the United States can be a country for all of us, where everyone can thrive no matter what we look like, how we pray, or where we come from. They are therefore mobilizing nationwide and advocating in Washington to establish a new future where all of us are safe and free. And I'm proud that they represent our community and that they have chapters in over 25 countries. I'm here with my dear friend and colleague and teacher, Rabbi.
Cities, not countries.
Over 25 cities and one day 25 countries. I was just being a little too aspirational, but over 25 cities. I'm here with my dear friend and colleague and teacher, Rabbi Jason Kimelman-Block, who is the Washington director of Bend the Arc Jewish Action. He received his rabbinic ordination from the Jewish Theological Seminary of America and his BA in political science from Grinnell College. Previously, he directed the Sela Leadership Program, wonderful program, and he serves as a director of the Panim Institute for Jewish Leadership and Values, a program I was privileged to play a small role in. So, Reb Jason, thank you so much for being here.
Great to be here, Shmuley. Wonderful.
The world is burning in 25 countries and more, and in 25 cities and more. The world is burning, unfortunately. We're witnessing, a horrible war over the invasion from Russia, destructive climate change, attacks on democracy, deep poverty. It is so hard to get clarity on priorities. Talk to me a little bit. Bend the Arc, March 2022. How do you think about priorities, and where do you think American Jews should be placing our priorities right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a big question. I think what we should be thinking about here are what are the things that could create the conditions so that we can shape a country and ideally a world where all of us are safe and all of us have the conditions to thrive. So, what are those? What are the roadblocks to that? What are the institutions that make that possible? And what are the ways that will make it possible for us to address some of the issues are going to be ongoing for a long time, but what do we need to focus on right now? So, in my mind, for sure, as John Lewis said, the right to vote is the most powerful nonviolent tool we have for change in the country. And so when the right to vote is under attack and under threat, we need to fight back. The fact that let's talk Jewishly for a second. Jews are feeling a lot of I'd say concerns about our safety, right? And a lot of that is because Jews are safe in societies that are open and tolerant. And as societies become more authoritarian, that's not a place where Jews thrive, right? And so I would say it's an existential fight right now to ensure that the United States does not go further down the path of authoritarianism. We already have, unfortunately, large chunks of Americans who essentially have abandoned the democratic project, who have said that it's okay to commit violence in the name of holding on to power. And that's a scary place for anyone to be. It's a scary place for the Jewish community to be. It's a it's not the kind of country we want to live in, right? So why, like, what are the leverage points there? To me, we cannot end racism without understanding how the kind of founding lie, going back hundreds of years before the country was, before the United States was even founded, the idea that somehow white people are superior to people with more melanin in their skin, right? That idea has taken hold so much in our society that it can be weaponized. And we've seen that in the last number of years when on any political issue, whether it's climate or economics or education, those who want to take power and hold on to power will know how to utilize racism to divide people. So I would say that the thing we have to address the most is really examining what is this idea of white supremacy? In a Jewish sense, like, what does it mean to, to me, like, in a theological sense, white supremacy is, of course, like a form of idolatry, an idea that, like, a certain kind of human being is, like, closer to the divine image than others. That's, like, totally heretical. But also in terms of, at the same time, I grew up in this society, like those ideas are, I have habits that in terms of how I think, when I walk down the street, these are things we have to, there's a spiritual process in terms of internally, but we also have to look at the systemic, like racism isn't just about personal bigotry. It's about how do we raise money to tax our schools, and so I think what a lot of us, I think what we have to confront is not only the way that those systems play out in our society, but also how they play out inside the Jewish community.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to pick up on a really cool theological point you made, in addition to just that moral prioritization, which is so well stated, which is that we normally think of the notion that humans being created b'tselem Elokim, in the image of God, as being a statement about humanity. Like, we have human rights because of this nature of us that has some resemblance of divinity. And yet, what you remind us of, it's actually also a statement of who God is, because we are representatives. We are in that image. And so to say that certain human beings are more godlike is actually not only to misrepresent humanity, but to misrepresent God. And that itself is a heresy, is an avodah zarah, an idolatry of worshiping one kind of unique dimension of divinity while diminishing this other. So thank you for that important point.
Right. It's just to pick up one, it's almost like the more you learn about Judaism, in some ways, the more things go back to the basics. And I'm just brought to Kiddush on Friday nights, right? And the idea of, Zecher l'Maaseh Bereshit, reminding us of that idea that we're all created b'tselem Elokim, and Zecher l'Yetziat Mitzrayim, the idea that that there are pharaohs, and we have to decide whether we're going to side on the side of Pharaoh or the Israelites. And and the key, the key problem with Pharaoh was that he thought of himself as a god, right? And so in our times, we happen to be born in a time where and in a culture that unfortunately thinks about, let's say it, white males as kind of the ideal humanity. Most white men would say, oh, I'm not really part of any ethnic group. I'm just a person. What are you? Where are you from? And that idea, in a sense, makes a certain kind of person a form of like kind of a pharaoh.
So let me pick up on something you said, because I think it's really important that, and I'm struggling with this. Like, is it always a binary of Israelites and Pharaoh? Like, are there times, and let me phrase this in a really difficult way. Are there times you would choose to be Pharaoh over the slave? Are there times that we are willing for political messiness, or because of just the difficult reality of complicity and intersectionality? Are there times we're willing to be, or we should be willing to be in a middle space where we're not exact, what do you think about that?
For sure. I mean, as we're having this conversation, it kind of like, it all goes back to like things Yitz Greenberg has taught very tight. Like I'm thinking about his idea that after the Shoah, powerlessness is a sin, right? And that, we have to take power really seriously. And it's important, I'm thinking about like as an organization like mine, our contention is that, like we should use political power. We should build power. We need to have power to make the changes that we have in the world. We're not going to cede power to just the people who want it. That would be the wrong thing. And then when you get into the political system is messy, and there's not as much. There are always trade-offs.
So let's move into that point about political power, because most of us in this work operate purely in the 501c3 space, that we are Jewish social justice, grassroots, nonpartisan organizations. Right. And of course, Ben the Ark has that dimension as well. But y'all are also a C4, and so you can engage in direct lobbying. What does that side look like? Because that is rare in the Jewish social justice space. And I wonder, being that you're the Washington director of Ben the Ark Jewish Action, I wonder if you could tell us like how you leverage power in
Sure. And, part of why we established a C4, which technically is a separate organization, they're like family sister organizations, is this idea of taking power seriously. That if we are going to, if we're going to contend with trying to move our elected officials, it matters who's holding those seats. And we should have some play in that as well. And the Jewish community has done that. And, I would say like, there are many, many Jewish political action committees, but they're all around Israel advocacy. So like Jews, and so, that's fine. Like, something we take seriously as a community, like let's go lobby, whether it's, AIPAC or J Street or, there's a variety of opinions, but all Israel advocacy, until Ben the Ark founded one and said, hey, look, American Jewish community actually cares a lot and has a huge stake in this country and what direction it's going into. We need to bring all the tools to bear that we can. So
it's a great moment when we arrive at a senator's office or a congressman's office and like, oh, the Jews are here. Okay, so we'll talk about Israel. But we're here to talk about LGBTQ rights. So we're here to talk about the climate. We're here to talk about immigration. Like, oh, like, wait, who are the Jews exactly? Like, it's a great, I mean, for us to remember that like survival is a very low bar for what our Jewish aspirations can be. Like for us to thrive, we need to be out there on the most crucial moral issues for whoever is most vulnerable.
Absolutely. And in my mind, it's an issue of survival too.
Exactly.
What kind of country this is.
That's right.
Is about our own survival.
And that's both parts, both because, as you said earlier so well, that Jews don't thrive in a totalitarian, authoritarian society like that or survive, but also because we don't survive if we're not living our values.
Right. And there's LGBTQ Jews,
exactly,
and there are Black Jews, exactly. and the Jewish community is not just the photograph you see on a Manischewitz box. Actually, I don't think there is a photograph of the Manischewitz. But it's not the Casa Federal on the roof. We're a very diverse community, and diversifying even more, as time goes on.
Friends, check out Ben the Ark, follow them on social media, donate to them, figure out how you can join the great activism they're doing. Thank you, Rabbi Jason Kimelman-Block, for all your amazing work.
Great. Thanks, Willie.